You are an hour into the party, and something in you has quietly started counting down. You are still smiling, still nodding, still saying the right things. But behind your eyes, a battery only you can see is draining, and you can feel the exact percentage left. And it is not that you dislike anyone here. You love these people. You are just done, in a way that has nothing to do with how much you like them. You want a dark, quiet room and no one in it. And then the second feeling arrives, and it is worse than the first. What is wrong with me? Everyone else looks fed by this. Am I antisocial? Cold? Broken at something everyone else finds easy? So let me say this right away. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not antisocial, not cold, and not broken. That drain is not a flaw. It is a reading off a system so old it once kept your ancestors alive, running tonight in a room it was never built for. This is the story of why a crowd can flatten you while it lights up the person right next to you. And what that ancient system is actually doing is stranger and kinder than you would ever guess. To understand the battery draining tonight, we have to go back, a long way back. Long before commutes and open-plan offices, before a stranger was something your brain met hundreds of times a day. Picture your ancestors in one small band on open ground, and feel the shape of that world. You lived your whole life inside one group, a band on the order of 150 faces, most of them family, nearly all of them known. The same people from your first day to your last. No crowd of strangers streaming past, just these faces, for life. And inside that world, your brain ran a quiet program in the background, all day long. It read the people around you, who is up today and who is down, who to trust. Because in a group, your survival ran on reading each other right. But here is the part that matters most. That program was cheap. It barely cost you anything. Because the roster almost never changed. You had known these faces for years. Their intentions were legible. Most were on your side. Tracking people you already know is nearly free. And a stranger? A stranger was rare, and a stranger was significant. Someone from outside the band, intentions unknown, worth a real jolt of alertness until you had placed them. The whole system was tuned for one setting. Known faces were the default, and the stranger was the exception. Now widen the lens, because nervous systems came in a range. Some ran hotter inside and hit their ceiling on less coming in. Some ran cooler and needed more to feel switched on. And a band wanted both. The watchful ones who noticed everything, and the crowd-loving ones who pushed outward. Neither was the broken one. So you inherited that program, perfect and intact. But the world it was built to read quietly disappeared. And what happens when you drop it into a modern day is stranger than you would guess. So take that program, built to read a small, knowable few, where the people around you were, by default, people you already knew. And drop it, completely unchanged, into a modern Tuesday. The roster explodes. A commute, an open-plan office, a mall, a party. Hundreds of faces in a single day, and almost none of them known. But the ancient program does not know the rules changed. To it, a face is a face. So it does the only thing it has ever done. It wakes up to every single face and tries to read it. Place this stranger. Track that one. Follow the shifting mood of a whole crowd it has zero history with. Running the village program at full speed on a city of strangers. And here is exactly where it breaks. The thing that used to be rare and expensive, a stranger, is now the constant, unbroken default. Hundreds of times a day. What was once a once-in-a-while jolt is now the whole room, all the time. The meter never gets to rest. So for a nervous system already tuned to run a little hotter, or one that feels each signal more deeply, that endless stream of unknown faces and noise piles up fast. The internal meter climbs past comfortable into too much, and you drain. And you start craving the one thing that lets the meter fall, a room with no faces to track. And then a culture that treats loud, tireless, and always on as the healthy default hands you a label to match. Antisocial, cold, no fun, rude. So you carry two wounds where there should be zero, the drain itself and the shame stacked on top of it. But that is only half the story. Because when the labs put this feeling under a microscope, what they find is stranger than the story you have been told. So here is what everyone gets wrong. They think the crowd drains you because deep down you must not like people. But that is not it. Start with the dial. Back in 1967, in his book, The Biological Basis of Personality, the psychologist Hans Eysenck laid out the founding arousal theory of introversion and extroversion. They are not shy versus outgoing. They are two settings on one dial for how much of the world it takes to feel switched on. Introverts run at a higher baseline inside, so they hit their ceiling on less input and pull back. Extroverts run lower, so they go seeking noise, a crowd, to climb to the same place. An honest note: this is the founding idea, a strong but simplified model, not the last word. And you can nearly see it. In 1999, in the American Journal of Psychiatry, Deborah Johnson and her colleagues at the University of Iowa scanned 18 healthy adults at rest. The introverts showed more blood flow in frontal regions tied to internal processing before anyone had walked into the room. A small, early study, so hold it gently. But the introvert's system is already humming louder inside before the crowd arrives. And now here is the double twist, the part that should make your skin prickle. The first twist you have: the drain is just an old familiar faces program overrun by strangers. But the deeper truth is this: for a lot of us, the dial was set high to begin with. You are not just handing an ancient program too many faces. You are handing it to a nervous system that was already near full before the crowd started. Two mismatches, stacked. And that changes what the drain means. It is not a sign that something is missing in you. It is a sign that something is running more. More engine, more depth. The tiredness is not a deficiency. It is the receipt for how much you take in. And then a related thread. In 1997, in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Elaine Aron and Arthur Aron defined a trait called sensory processing sensitivity. For maybe 15 to 20% of people, it is not just how much stimulation, it is how deeply each signal gets processed. It overlaps with introversion, but it is not the same thing. Some highly sensitive people are extroverts. To them, a crowd is not louder, it is fuller. And in 2014, in the journal Brain and Behavior, Bianca Acevedo and Elaine Aron and Arthur Aron put highly sensitive people in a brain scanner. Watching others' emotional faces, their brains lit up more in regions for awareness and empathy. Small study, so hold it lightly. But that is a lot of engine running in a crowded room. One verdict across the labs: the drain is not weakness, and it is not dislike of people. It is a familiar faces program, often set high, doing exactly its job on an impossible number of strangers. Which raises a question. What do you do with a system that is right about the past and pointed at the wrong room tonight? Okay, deep breath with me. Because I do not want you to walk away with the wrong lesson. So let me draw a few clear lines, because this part matters. This does not mean crowds are bad, or that you should hide from people, or that extroverts are somehow shallow. The dial has no better end. And the extrovert who goes flat and lonely in an empty apartment is running the exact same dial from the other side, equally not broken. Same instrument, opposite reading. And one more line, gently, because it matters most. This drain is not the same thing as social anxiety. Social anxiety is fear, the dread of being judged, watched, evaluated. Crowd drain is not fear at all. It is depletion. You can be completely comfortable, enjoying every second, and still watch the battery run flat. One is a worry, the other is a load. But if your version comes with real dread or panic, or you avoid people you actually want to see, that is worth talking to someone about. And this is not a disorder. It is a normal setting on a very old spectrum. So what do you actually do? Not force yourself to love parties, and not become a hermit either. You just name what is happening. The next time the battery hits red, you say it, quietly, to yourself. That is my Familiar Faces program, built for a knowable few, trying to read 200 strangers at once. Of course the battery is low. And naming it flips the question. What is wrong with me becomes, of course I am tired. Look what I just asked my brain to do. Then give yourself the permission out loud. Recharging alone is not rude. It is refueling. Leaving early is not failing. It is maintenance. You can love every person in that room and still need the quiet room afterward. Both are true at once. Because that drain you feel in the crowd, the battery running down while you are still smiling, was never proof you are antisocial, or cold, or broken. It is a system so old it once kept your ancestors alive, back when it woke up to a handful of faces it already knew, and reading them cost almost nothing. That system could run all day. It just cannot tell that the train is not your band, that a stranger stopped being rare and became the whole room. So the next time you are wiped out and the guilt arrives, you can finally answer it honestly. Nothing is wrong with me. I just spent an afternoon asking a village brain to read a city. Of course I am tired. And that is not a thing to fix. That is a system to plug in. So send this to 2 people. Send it to the friend who always leaves the party early, who does the quiet math on how much battery is left. And send it to the one who cannot understand why anyone would ever want to leave. Tell them both the same thing. Neither of you is broken. You are just 2 settings on one very old dial, both doing exactly the job you were built for.